there's a story that Glenn Greenwald covered at Salon yesterday. And the headline says, Government Harassing and Intimidating Bradley Manning Supporters. Now, you remember who Bradley Manning is. He's the guy who heroically turned over that vast cache of evidence of American war crimes to WikiLeaks.
Right, right.
And he is at present rotting in a brig in Quantico, Virginia.
Okay.
So Greenwald starts his story by talking about Jacob Applebaum. Jacob Applebaum is a U.S. citizen. And this past July, he was detained for several hours at Newark Airport when he came back from a trip to Holland. The federal government stole his laptop, his cell phone, and his other electronic products, and they didn't even have a search warrant to do it. And they didn't charge him with a crime. And he wasn't under investigation. He was interrogated, however, at length about WikiLeaks. And he was told by the agents who detained him that he could expect the same treatment every time he left the country and tried to come back. A few days later, a pair of FBI agents approached him at a computer conference and shook him down again. He's still never been charged with a crime, but he's also still never received the personal property back that was stolen from him.
And his crime?
No, his crime is having something to do at WikiLeaks. But you know what? The definition of crime extends downward into a much more attenuated strata. Because what is this, the 10th? 7 days ago, Wednesday, a guy named David House, who's 23 years old. He's a researcher working at MIT. He'd been on vacation in Mexico, and he came back. And at the airport, he too was searched the way Mr. Applebaum was. And he was subjected to even worse treatment. Now, what had he done? All in the world he had done was been involved in helping to set up the Bradley Manning Support Network, whose only crime is trying to raise money so that Manning can have a competent legal defense. That's it. He'd visited Manning 3 times in Quantico, Virginia, in the hellhole brig there. All 3 visits were monitored by the government. And see, the trick is that Glenn Greenwald points out is that the government could never, ever, ever do this to a citizen just sitting there in his home. They would have to have a warrant. But because we have fascized our so-called war on terror, they can do this without fail at airports. Mr. House, Greenwald describes it. He says, House arrived at Chicago's O'Hare Airport, and his flight was met in the concourse by customs agents who examined the passports of all deplaning passengers till they saw House's passport, at which point they stopped. They then directed him to customs, where he and his girlfriend's bags were extensively searched. After the search, the 2 men, identifying themselves as Homeland Security officials, told House and his girlfriend they were being detained for questioning and would miss their connecting flight. They then made him give up all of his electronic products, all the way down to his cell phone, his digital camera, and his thumb drive.
And this property is not returned, is it?
Never. Even as they were taking him to interrogation, he saw a team of people plugging a bunch of high-tech gizmodery into his stuff to try to retrieve every bit of data on his machines. They questioned him for 90 minutes, Sandra, about why he felt it necessary to visit Bradley Manning, and what work he did to support the Manning campaign, and who else was involved in that support group, and how he felt about WikiLeaks. How he felt, Sandra?
Wow.
Thought crime? And again, you know, I take no joy in saying this. This ain't the Bush administration.